made a big coverage, a big thing, you know, and Red Cross and UN, all this. So there is this going on, and also the special police force were silencing all the dissent. Anybody, writers, intellectuals, who are criticizing the government, you know, they will be silenced. They will be killed. They will disappear. You know, opposition, of course, the opposition as well, opposition politicians. That's number one, and that's how, you know,
and I think actually they made a film about the last accident in the textile fabric. Also, this one is forbidden. As I understood,
My film Meherjan is actually forbidden in Bangladesh as well, because, you know, government has a certain propaganda about the liberation what they want to hear. My film, you know, researched and found another story, look at the liberation war in a different way, and it's bad. You cannot show it in Bangladesh anymore. But Iranians liked it. Iranians took it, so it's good. Anyways, so we were working, you know, and very hard to get materials on these, because you cannot shoot there, you cannot do anything. So we were, and whenever I do something, you know, I create a different way of network and amassing material, because if you're not connecting with the community, if you're not really connecting with people who are really affected, it doesn't really mean anything to me. I don't really feel that I'm able to speak for them unless I am really connected with them. You know, so I was setting up a network to get material, talk with people, you know, all this thing. And I was getting a lot of material, because a lot of my friends, since Hari said, you know, I work with young people. So a lot of them are working in television. So they were shooting a lot of stuff that couldn't show in the television. So it was coming to me. They were giving me all the stuff, you know, coming from many different sources. And I was making a big film, you know. But it was becoming very dangerous for me to stay in Bangladesh, because I have already a lot of enemies because of the language thing. Intellectuals hate me, older intellectuals hate me, everybody, you know, a lot of TV channels hate me, a lot of politicians hate me. So words were spreading. So it was getting a little, and I thought, well, if I could show it outside this region and get some support, maybe it would be a little safer for me. But there was no way I could finish the film, the long feature film, by deadlines of Cannes. I already missed Berlinale. I already Berlin Film Festival. Cannes was coming because Cannes is in May. So I said, well, let's forget about the big film. Quickly, with the outtakes, little material I had, I made a short film very quickly in 2 days, and I sent it to Cannes. Because if it was accepted in Cannes, you know, anywhere, it doesn't have to be the competition. It could be, you know, short film where I was accepted. I have an excuse to leave the country. Otherwise, I can leave the country. Once I leave the country, you know, I knew that this film is not ready. You know, it's not really the kind of film that would be shown in a theater or will be sold to Al Jazeera or BBC. But I knew that it could be part of a transmedia film process where I can show the film in museums and galleries. You know, and I could get, you know, support and stuff. So I sent it to Cannes. Cannes accepted it, and I came out of Bangladesh. But around that time, Catherine Bigelow, this American film director, she made a film called Zero Dark 30, which got Oscar, and it was a big hit.
That's a killing of
Osama bin Laden. It's a film that shows that CIA, a woman called Maya, who's working for CIA and stationed in Pakistan, finds the address of Osama bin Laden, and they kill the same Navy SEAL 6 in South Asia in 3 different ways.
Okay, and the talk is because...
And Catherine Bigelow is... Yeah.
Because the silencing is brought to a new language. You talk about the silencing of the people.
That's, you know, that's a little different. I was very influenced by Derrida. You know, if you were... sorry, not Derrida, Heidegger. If you read Heidegger's The Way to the Language, in the beginning of The Way to the Language, Heidegger has a discussion with a Japanese man, and they're talking about Georg Trakhl's poetry, they're talking about the language of poetry, and one thing that comes up is untaught and unknown. So I work with untaught and unknown. You know, what is untaught? Untaught is not something that cannot be taught, and unknown is not something, or invisible is not something that doesn't exist. It exists, but it doesn't exist in our reality, because our reality is a construction. It's a political, consensual reality. We decided that this should be our reality. There are things that outside of it, like we can talk about environment. You know, we can talk about different things. This debate, this issue didn't exist 100 years ago. You know, it was invisible. It was there, but it was not part of the discourse. It was too long, you know, like feminist issues. You know, women could vote. Black people should vote. You know, black people has the right to ride in the bus or go to a restaurant. You know, these were all important issues. Black people still existed. You know, Richard Wright wrote a book called Invisible Man. All the men were, black men were invisible. You know, so this thing does exist, but under erasure. It doesn't exist within the discourse of the reality. So that's, you know, that's Heidegger called untaught. You know, what is not within the parameter of how we are thinking about our reality. So, as a filmmaker, I'm working with image, but I'm working with the invisible as well. You know, because I would like to create a situation, a process through which what's not within the parameter of the reality could emerge. We can talk about, again, language. We can talk about things that we are not talking about. We can talk about things that's forbidden to talk about. We can talk about things that's, you know, doesn't give us any incentive, any profit to talk about within our reality.
Yeah, but it rests very much on visibilities like this, especially.
Exactly, the whole politics is about visibility.
Like
Another thing is, you know, about, you know, like me, you know, I am a dark man coming from one of the darkest places of the world, you know, and within the European academic context, I am not a historical subject. You know, if you read Hegel, the whole history in Europe is coming from Hegel. And within the Hegel's, you know, context, you know, we don't have history. Our history started with colonialism. Before that, we never had history. You know, Germanic people have history. Teutonic people have history, but we don't have history. So I am the bastard of history. I am not a historical subject. So the whole politics that we have, you know, through the whole 80s and 90s, that how a person who's not historical subject become part of history. Through what struggle? What is the resistance? You know? And again, you know, I have to bring up Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi in 1913 had a debate with Kumarasamy. Kumarasamy is the first art historian of South Asia. He was a don at Oxford. So Mahatma Gandhi and Kumarasamy, they had a debate in 1913 about history. Mahatma Gandhi was totally against modern art. He didn't like modernism, and he didn't like modern art. You know, and Kumarasamy asked, why don't you like contemporary art? What is wrong with that? He said, well, because we experience contemporary art and modernism as violence. These people who are not part of the history, we experience this as violence. Even today, that's true. Even the system of state is a violence, a coercive system for those kind of people. So he said the only way Occident and Orient could come together is bypassing the violence of modern art and history. And we have, that's why Mahatma Gandhi was you know, working with handlooms and this and that. You know, he was bypassing the violence of industrial civilization and creating the possibility of a newer history where we could be equal and come together as people, equal people.
And what might be also interesting for its context is like the production process, or like how you produce or make this film, because it's working a lot with like found footage material, or like what is called snuff films, where you see like brutal violence, but like this, what is so disturbing about the films is kind of that it's so authentic, you know, like that it's like real material, what you assemble and curate in a way to make a film and then connect it with like a dubbed over voice with philosophy and theory, which you mentioned already. But maybe you can talk a bit about these footages and how do you collect
the
them?
process.
And the process,
Yeah. Okay, probably I should talk a little bit about the films as well. The first film is called Atrocity Exhibition, and it is about two martyrs. Like you were mentioning, we have a country, neighboring country, Burma, which is called Myanmar these days. And in Myanmar, there is this Muslim people who are living there as minorities. They are called Rohingya. If you Google Rohingya, you know, a lot of news will come up. So these are Rohingya refugees. They are not wanted in Myanmar. So they are being persecuted. So what they do is they cross the border and come into Bangladesh. And since they're Muslim, and since they are part of the war and drug cartel, a lot of them, and some of them are being trained as Islamists, part of the war on terror policy, Bangladesh government don't want them in Bangladeshi soil. So the state policy is what they call pushing them back. They're pushed back back to Bangladesh. So refugee come, they push them back, they're accepted. But they're coming in droves. They're coming to the sea, they're coming because we share a border through the jungle. They come through jungle everywhere. So by that time, there was a lot of extrajudicial murders by the special police. So they cannot use the army or the police to kill these people. So what Bangladeshi government was doing at that time, because they were rousing the villagers, the local people. They're using the administration to inform the people that, okay, these are poor refugees coming, they're going to steal your cow. Because these are poor farmers, Bangladeshi farmers. They're going to steal your cow, they're going to do this, they're going to sell drugs there, this, that. So local people were very angry that refugees are coming. You can see the similarity, what's happening in Europe right now. So when they come, what I show in my first film is that these refugees were coming and the villagers are beating them to death. There were 6 Rohingya were beaten to death. And when you see they're being beaten to death, they're actually being beaten to death. It's authentic footage. That's one part of the film. The other part of the film is there was a man called Bishajit. Again, our government, because of the war on terror policy, they're murdering the Islamists, not putting them through trial, just murdering them, picking up and murdering them. And it's common in South Asia to use the students as cadres, political cadres. So the opposition government, everybody, they arm the student, they train the student to push their political agenda, to forward their agenda. And here, in the next part of the film, we see a man, his name is Bishri, he's actually a Hindu man, he's not a Muslim. It was the Islamist party, they called a strike on that day. And his mistake was this Hindu man, he was a poor man, he was a tailor, he was going to work. So the government student cadres, they thought that this man was Islamist. So they actually killed them on camera in front of the police. Both murders happened in front of the police because actually police was rousing them. So you see him being hacked to death, on camera. And actually that next day, when the killer's name were published on the newspaper, they called the newspaper office and said, don't make mistake with my spelling. Put my name with the right spelling. They wanted their name to be published because they, progress in a political hierarchy, if their name is right. So anyway, so these 2 events form my first film, Artist Exhibition. Now, coming to the process, most of this footage are not found footage. I anonymously found them on internet or here and there. Like I say, the process is very important for me, and it's a long, it's going to be a long discussion if you talk about that. But I will just put very quickly, the whole process of filming is changing very rapidly, and the way we set up the working process is changing. We are experimenting a lot with how we set up the process, and for me to get into, because I'm not a journalist, I am not a reporter, to show the terrible things in the world for the people to be sympathetic with what's going on, or breaking news, is not my job. And also, I don't want to sensationalize people, I don't want to shock people. If I want to shock people, there are more brutal footage. I mean, if you just check your Facebook news feed in last 5 days, little babies, on the sea, there's so many, I mean, you just, and not even in the regular internet, you go to the deep internet, you find, child pornography, these, that, so much, that you cannot even, you can make people crazy. So it's not my intention to shock people, and it's not my intention what the reporters do, to break new news. So what am I to do? I have to get in the process of art making, again, to ask questions about the reality and what's hidden in this reality, what I can manifest so we can re-examine this reality so this could stop. Because see, I will give a very quick example. Say this is a stool. Before, he was telling me it's an award-winning stool because it's like with paper and this, it's a new kind of design. So, but before someone could make this stool, he had to think about it, and he had to create a design. He had to have a blueprint. Same, what we see manifested in our reality, it has an ideological blueprint. And that's always hidden. We only see the manifestation of that ideological blueprint. So once, if you want to change the reality, if something very bad is happening in the reality, you don't work with what's manifested, because it's just a manifestation of a hidden agenda, hidden blueprint. So if you change the ideological blueprint, this manifestation will automatically change. So as an artist, one of my main goals is to reveal the hidden blueprint which is creating this ideological blueprint, which is creating this brutal reality. And that's what Jacques Lacan was talking about, and that's Zizek talks about a lot when Zizek talks about violence, and he talks about that Slovenian rock group, that why they were doing what they were doing in the 80s. It's just, every violence, every reality, every brutal thing in the world always have something ideological in the background, ideological design, where the reality manifests. If you want to change this, you have to start with that, the hidden part. Every tree that has fruit has a root. You cut the root. You don't, just work with the fruit if you want to kill the tree. So that was, one of the reasons that I wanted to show, through the artistic process. Because if I, it's not only about aesthetic, but also about, how much people can take. There's a point people look away. And that's the other reason, a lot of thought went into the editing of the film and what I put in and what I put out. And it's shown through the eyes of a child. You see that there's a child and all the people are coming, So what's outside the frame influences what's inside the film as well. But it's actually to show the hidden political, and ideological blueprint, manifesting that. So, it's not cerebral, it's visceral. It hits you in the belly. Inside, the deep inside, and you think about it. You keep thinking about it. I mean, I hope I did that. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be maybe the last question for me. I don't know, because, like as you said, your films deal a lot with the question of representation, as we call it in theory, in a way. Like, how are people represented? What issues are represented? How it is represented? Who is it represented? Or what is not represented in politics or in the film? And so as the Rohingya people and so on, or the torture, which is silenced, and then like you bring them like to view and so on. But this also raises like ethical questions, as you just said. Like, can you show this, or how far can you go to show this, or and like one critic wrote like that you raise like new, or you bring up a new ethics maybe through your film. So this is like. But can you use this for your aim?
Now we come
can you really
this
reveal
nice.
kind of the
Okay, so I turn the question around.
Yeah.
Whose ethics? Is the victim's ethics or the bourgeois ethics who make the rule? Whose ethics we are talking about? And victim, and people who are being persecuted, who's gonna push their ethics in front of us? And does the victim, like Gayatri Spivak wrote this very interesting critique of subaltern studies, that can the subaltern speak? Do we have the tool to hear what victim is saying? And who is speaking? Like when the journalists, all of us know, I work in publishing as well, and I work for Routledge, one of the biggest publishers in the world. We all know, especially in Occident, every newspaper, every publishing house, every TV channel in the world, in the Occident, are owned by 10 conglomerates. Especially the academic journals, it's Taylor and Francis. They own 70% of the academic journal research, journals, So it's the rich one person who's owning the 90% resources of the world. So everybody, all journalists, everybody works for them. So are we abiding by those rules? Because they are the beneficiary of the status quo. If we are playing by their rules, the reality will never change. It will never change. Reality always changes. You push it. When you push the envelope, somebody comes and be, irreverent. Somebody comes and be, challenge everything. Somebody comes and bring something new. I don't know if when somebody is doing something new, that particular thing becomes art. But it creates a new representational values that could create and generate new artistic system. the first rule breaker is never creating art. You know, Antonin Artaud was never an artist. You know, even André Breton was never an artist when he was talking about surrealism. When he was writing the Manifesto of Surrealism, but you know, it became slowly integrated and absorbed in the system, and new, you know, within that paradigm, you know, it changed the paradigm. It's a paradigm shift. Then the new art comes. But somebody has to come and say the emperor is naked. You know, but otherwise, you know, everybody's just silent. You know, somebody has to say that you're naked. You know, you're walking on the street, you're naked.
Is this answering your?
I don't know if there's a yes/no answer.
Goes around. But maybe this is the point where you open as well.
Please, I would love to. And thank you, please,
if you
for coming and.
Maybe we show you
Yeah.
so that you
Probably,
can
yeah.
have an impression of how violent this can be.
Could you please mention the topic of the second movie, of the second and third movie?
Okay, should we talk about that? And,
Just short.
This is pornography and.
Citizen of the Worm.
Citizen of the Worm.
And this was shown in Cannes, as said,
This was 3
years ago, and it was very much like in all reviews of Cannes, it was also mentioned because of this good success.
Try the Citizen of the Worm. The question was, what was my second film about? Again, it needs the context. Should I start? Yeah. Okay, I'm very much interested in feminist critique of body and culture. All through my life, I've been very influenced by feminists. I don't know if you know Anna Sneed. Anna Sneed was my godmother, and I grew up with very strong woman. So for me, whenever I get confused or I am like in ethical question, I am in a conundrum, I always come back to the feminist critique of things. So this happened by accident. I was going through my Twitter account. I use Twitter a lot. I got a lot of footage through Twitter as well. I leaked a lot of footage through Twitter as well. and Vine and all that. I found a tweet by Naomi Klein. You guys probably know Naomi Klein. She wrote this book, famous book called No Logo and Disaster Capitalism. You know, a Canadian feminist, very important cultural theorist. So she was tweeting a story by another very important second wave radical feminist, Jessica Valenti. And it's about rape culture. How, you know, women are getting more autonomy of their body and they're having more cultural and economical mobility, how patriarchy is attacking them and turning this culture into a rape culture. You know, how rape is becoming a way of punishing independent women. So that stuck with me. What is this rape culture? What is this? I mean, of course we hear a lot of things, you know, living in this, that, bad words. What is this rape culture? Then I started getting, you know, information. Once you know this thing, you start getting information. You know, I started researching. There was Naomi Wolf, another very important feminist, you know, who wrote a whole very important article on The Nation magazine about rape culture. Then the story of Gainsbourg came out. There was this American small town, Gainsbourg, where this football team, they raped a girl, a classmate, and put the photos of the rape on their Facebook account. At the same time, I was telling my friends here at dinner that I came across a magazine published in China, which published a series of photos of American Marines raping an Iraqi girl, a 14-year-old girl. And what struck me was, it was not just brutal violence. They were stylizing those photos. They are moving the girl around to stylize it as if it's a pornography running in their head. So slowly I started researching, and I still couldn't understand what is rape culture. What is this? What is this violence towards women? And when we say woman, it's not only femininely gendered and biological woman. It's, you know, we have to think about it in a longer term, because men could be the victim of patriarchy as much as women. You know, artists could be too. Anybody who work with societal values and challenge societal values and fluid, you know, are actually being attacked by patriarchy all the time. So Pornographia was an investigation into understanding what is rape culture, what is this violence, and I used the material of women who are taken, again, war on terror thing, who are taken and being sold to sexual slavery in many different contexts. So that was a short way of talking, you know, about it.
And the Citizen of the
Okay,
Woman.
Citizen of the Wombs is 84 minutes. It's the longest among the trilogy. It's a very subjective, very personal study of the whole issues. The film is about Ebad, about, you know, again, I have to say, you know, there's this famous American poet who got Nobel Prize as well, T.S. Eliot. He says that when you're reading poetry, it's not the poet's voice, it's not the reader's voice, it's a third voice. So the Ebad I'm talking about, it's not me, it's not somebody else, it's a third one, you know, it's a third Ebad. That's why I use La Ebad, also for my safety as well. I don't want to use my last name all the time. Anyway, so it's about a guy who made two films. One of them were showed in the Cannes, and now it's not, you know, he cannot live in his country anymore. You know, he has to leave the country. You know, and the friends who helped him, the journalists, they are being killed. And then I found WikiLeaks messages that, you know, about what's going on there, you know, the special police and stuff. So that's the story that's unfolding, you know. Is Ebad running away? Is he alive? He's not alive. Where is he? You know, he is in Paris with his wife, or is he not? So that, with the issues, his friends dying, being killed, kidnapped, you know, that's, you know, it's a summation of what's been, you know, what I've been doing with other films and what, you know, happened with me in the end. Yeah, that's the part. Yes.
In the trailer of the movie,
Yes.
you're talking about, I mentioned two scenes
Yeah.
where the voice is saying it's a love story, and twice you see dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Is it accident or?
You see a lot of dogs and a lot of babies, a lot of kids in my film. That's the Asian reality. You know, I tell you a small, you know, story. You know, one of my first girlfriend was a Korean girl. You know, and Jenny, her name was Jenny, and we were living together. And he took a pet. In America, you know, you cannot eat dogs, but she took a pet, a dog, and I came home one day and it disappeared. I said, Jenny, what happened with the dog? You know, and she was a small girl, she was very shy. She said, well, I ate the dog, you know. So then I came to India, I was visiting in India, and I took a lot of photos, and I took back the photos, I was showing slides, you know, of the photos to her. And I said, well, it's India, I've been traveling a lot under Himalaya, all that. So I was very curious to know what she was seeing, what was happening. You know? I said, well, do you think it's interesting? What is interesting? Oh, she said, so many dogs. You know, in the photo she's only seeing dogs. So actually, you know, in a way it's true for me. You know, if you go to Asia, you know, Asia it's almost 2 billion people, and 70% of them are under 35. You know, it's a very young place. You know, so you see a lot of children, a lot of animals, especially dogs. You know, so it's part of, and also I use it metaphorically as well. It's a love story, and you see actually dogs making love.
Yeah.
It is a dog's life. You know, we don't have the status of being human anymore. We are reduced to dog's life. You know, in a way, you know.
Heavy resume.
Have
A very heavy resume at the
very.
end, I would say. And some other questions from your part? Or? Because we should have
Yeah, please,
time
please.
for
Please.
questions.